Hey guys, welcome to the Mom Show. I'm your host, Courtney Doyle, and this is a place I am giving you permission to not have it all together. Hey guys, welcome back to the Mom Show and our series, Help, My Child Is, where we are exploring real stories and experiences of motherhood. Today's special guest is Tammy Munson, and she shares a very honest and vulnerable story with us about raising a child with special needs. Tammy shares how her faith and the support of her community were an integral part of her getting through. She is full of inspiration and encouragement, and I know that you will be blessed by this conversation. She also agreed at the end of our conversation that if you are a mom with a special needs child and you need someone to talk to, you need encouragement, she would be willing to chat with you. So I'm going to link all of the information in the show notes for you to get in contact with Tammy in the event you would like to chat with her. Without further ado, here's our conversation. Guys, welcome back to the podcast. My guest today is a sweet friend, Tammy Munson. Tammy, I want to immediately jump into our content today, and I am going to turn the microphone over to you. Will you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, thank you for having me. So excited to be here. But yes, so I am a mom of two daughters. Kirsten is 25 and Rebecca is 22. So yes, we are technically empty nesters, even though everybody still lives at home. I am a podcast producer. I own Wildfire Creative, produce for a lot of Christian podcasters. And I've been married to my husband for 25 plus years. And I just love Jesus and roller coasters.
You
That's
do love
about it.
roller coasters.
I do.
They're not my favorite. Only the first drop. I can't stand it. If I could get past the first big drop where I lose my
Yes.
stomach, I would
Yeah.
be all in. But
Yeah.
I've
Love it.
witnessed you on some serious roller coasters, and I
With
can't.
my buddy
Yeah.
and I, Allie and I, we love roller coasters just as much as Jesus. Probably Jesus a little bit more.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yes, this past weekend, we were in Universal Studios riding the same roller coaster multiple times.
yeah.
But
I've seen y'all. And so you don't get dizzy or anything?
no, and actually with this chronic illness thing that I have, I experience vertigo at night, but I can ride roller coasters like it's nobody's business. So
Interesting. Okay, what about the stomach drop? Does your stomach
doesn't bother
drop?
me. It does, but it doesn't bother me. I'm an Enneagram 8, but I have a strong 7 wings, so I live for the adventure and
Okay,
the adrenaline.
okay.
So
I don't
that
know.
explains a lot about me.
Yeah, and I did the Enneagram test. I can't remember what I was, but I remember I didn't like it, and I took the test again. So what does that say about me? I don't wanna be that. I wanna be
You
something
want to be
else.
sure.
Yes,
That's it.
yes, yes, like I don't already know everything about myself and
Hey, right.
all the parts. Though I could sit here and talk roller coasters with you and
Of
my
course.
lack of enjoyment with those and your love for them, we're of course here for a more serious reason.
We are.
And
We
when I
are.
started
Yeah.
this season of moms crying out, "Help, my child," you and I connected because you said, "I need to be part of this." And you are
Mhm.
absolutely right. Your story needs to be heard. And
Mhm.
so let's jump right into that. If I asked you that question and I said, "Tammy, you're crying, help, my child," I want you to fill in that blank for us.
Sure. My child has special needs.
Yeah.
My oldest daughter, Kirsten, who I said is 25, she was diagnosed with a brain injury at 5.5 months old. The brain injury happened during delivery, but wasn't diagnosed until almost 6 months later. So
Mm.
that's where we found ourselves
And did
unknowingly.
y'all know immediately? I guess what led you to knowing at 6 months old something went awry at delivery?
She was experiencing lots of different things. She had projectile vomiting, like across the room, you know, that kind of stuff, not meeting milestones. So we were in the process of starting to investigate what's happening. Why is she doing this? Of course, as a brand new mom, first baby, there was a lot of, oh, you're a first time mom, whatever. Went to my pediatrician and said, hey, I think there's something wrong. If you tell me there's nothing wrong, I believe that. I've known you my whole life. So we were in the process of starting to investigate what's happening, why is she doing it, and then there's many details in between, and that's really my daughter's story to tell those specific details. But one
Mm.
day, she started acting very strangely, and we took her to the ER, and that's where it was discovered after they did a MRI and a CT to see what was really going.
And she was 6 months old at the time.
And she was almost 6 months old. And that was the day they said, your daughter has a brain injury. She has old blood sitting on her head. That explains the projectile vomiting, explains the crying, explains the developmental delay. And sign here, we need to take your daughter into emergency surgery.
Wow.
And they
So
did
she
that.
had surgery.
She's had 2 brain surgeries. One was to remove the fluid, and that was the first step that they had to do to see what they really were dealing with. And then the second one, they were gonna put a shunt in, but God did a little miracle, and she didn't actually have to have that second surgery. But they did open up her head, yes.
Wow. How scary for you as a first-time mom,
Uh-huh.
brand new baby, you have no idea what's happening, and now this is the information that's being delivered to you.
It When you hear people say, "That's a game changer," or
Mhm.
"It changed my life," in an instant, it was like somebody snapped their fingers and what everything we thought, everything that we had planned for was changed in an instant. It was so scary that we didn't know what we were gonna do or how we were gonna do it or what did this mean, or doctors couldn't tell us.
Mm.
They just couldn't tell us. And there wasn't a lot of like, after her surgery, her first surgery, there wasn't a lot of she was not doing very well. And they said, "If she makes it through the night, we think she'll be good, but we
Mm.
just don't know, so tonight's really critical, but there's nothing you can do. Go home."
Oh my god.
And a mom, a parent, anybody never wants to hear that. And it was just one of those moments where you go, "Okay, this is literally where we are," and you don't know what to do as a mom.
Yeah.
And as a first-time mom, nobody in my world had ever experienced anything like this. So we literally were on our own trying to figure out what do we do and how do we proceed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
There's no playbook for
Right. There's
this.
no, your daughter is having emergency brain surgery book on Amazon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh, I can't even imagine the roller coaster of emotions, not to be cliche to what we were talking about, that
No.
you experienced. I just imagining that right now with one of my children and not that it would be better if she would have been 5, but just thinking about the frailty of a 6-month-old baby that
Yeah.
you've just started enjoying life with,
Mhm.
and finding this out. At the discovery of this, could they project what the future was gonna look like with her, or were they unfamiliar and unknown as well?
There was a couple of doctors that pulled my husband off to the side. They didn't say it to me because like I said, I'm an Enneagram 8 and can be very intimidating and aggressive at times. But they pulled my husband to the side and they said, "You may want to think about long-term care for your daughter." That in For the lack of a better phrase, this is actually what a doctor in Louisiana said to us, that she would be a vegetable.
Oh.
And my husband said, "Don't ever tell my wife that." But there was this one doctor that said, he was a neurosurgeon, and he said, "By the time your daughter is 5, I really think she's gonna be okay." So, we were getting nobody really knew.
Yeah.
They were trying to give us best case scenarios, but we just didn't know what really we were dealing with, what part of the brain it really was affecting, and different parts of the brain do different things, so we just didn't know until she got older what that was
Mhm.
gonna look like for her
Mhm.
or for us in taking
Right.
care of her. Yeah.
And so as she got older, how did that play out?
It was one of those things that we just took them as they came.
Hmm.
We tried to control it initially. I tried to control it initially. My
In what
husband was like,
ways?
just everything's fine here, nothing to see, move along. She's fine, I'm fine, we're fine, everything is fine. Yep, the house is burning down, but it's fine. It's gonna be fine.
Oh, that's a pretty
There
mask. That's a
yes,
great
there was a
mask, by the way. I've worn
big
it.
big time mask. But then finally I was like, you know what? Everything's not okay. I'm not okay. She's not okay. But then we just have to take it as it comes
Mhm.
because we don't know what's going to happen. Only God knew what was going to be in store for her life. And so as every new situation came about, we just, okay, and we're going to make the best decision that we can make for her. It's not going to be the best decision for us. It's going to be the best decision for her. And so we just did that every time something new came around.
Mhm.
And that's just how that's what we've been able to do over the last 24 and a half years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you find yourself I know as moms, we often live for the view of the future. You create these dreams and these ideals of what life's gonna look like for your children in the future,
Right.
maybe based on
Hmm.
what they're enjoying or what they're seem to be
Sure.
excelling at. And did you find yourself having to shift from a very futuristic view of her life to a today view?
Yeah. The version that I imagined for her when she was a year, 2, 3, 4 years old is nothing like it is today.
Mm,
We didn't know if she could walk, talk, anything. And we thought it was going to be a care situation where she would need 24-hour round the clock care. That is not the case at all. She graduated from high school completely on her own. She attended college for a year. She has a job. She's a Disney travel planner. But so all these things she's done,
yeah.
I never in a moment would have imagined that when she was 3 or 4.
Wow.
I didn't think that she can take care of herself
Mhm.
completely, like, you know, any grown woman can do.
You made a comment in our question and answer session before this that you found yourself always making excuses. That was you said you wore the mask of I'm fine. You
Mhm.
always made excuses because you were trying for things to be perfect. When you say you made excuses, what excuses did you find yourself making?
That surgery was gonna fix it, that everything was gonna be fine, the doctors were wrong. It was all these excuses that to cover that perfection that I thought I needed to have. As moms, and I'm sure you're well aware, you experience this too. We need to feel like we're being the perfect mom. We're
Yeah.
giving our children what they need, and then the other thing was this guilt of are people going to think that I did something wrong? I had that own guilt within myself of
Yeah.
what did I do? What did I not do? Was I supposed to take this supplement or that, or should I did this and that? Should I pay closer attention to what was really happening during labor and delivery? And it wasn't anything of that. It was just something that happened.
Mhm.
And I finally had to just drop the mask, drop the excuses, and just let her be who God created her to be. And once I did that, things got tremendously better because the stress was killing me as well as the guilt and all the other things I was trying to do. And it was completely unnecessary. I didn't need to do all those things. I just needed to advocate and take care of my daughter the best way I could with medical intervention that we were given.
Right. And that's an easy hole for us to fall into, whether you're facing a
Hmm.
child with a disability, it doesn't really matter. It's that idea that we can control it, we can make it perfect. And when they're not perfect, what did we do? how did I fail? How did I not do enough? And of course, that's a huge part of
Mhm.
why I love having moms coming on here saying, "Hey, this is what I experienced," and encouraging other moms to know that they're not alone in anything that they're experiencing and to live the way that you're saying, which is let's live each day and do the best that we can and trust that, like in your situation, the
Mhm.
doctors that were coming alongside you and partnering with you were doing the best they could. And wherever the pieces that are falling, then we have to trust that Jesus is scooping those up and he's doing with them as he sees fit. And
Mhm.
I love what you just said. You said, I needed to let her be who God created her to be.
Yes.
That is a powerful statement, but I'm going to dig a little
Sure.
because how did this affect your relationship when you view, is this how God created her to be? And maybe you don't love it. That's not what I would have wanted, God. How does that rub out for
Well,
you?
going back a bit, at the time Kirsten was born, I was in a struggle with I was very angry about something that happened 5 years previously that was very traumatic and a major loss within my life, and I was very angry about that. How could you do that? How could you let that happen? All those conversations that we have sometimes, and it's
Mhm,
okay.
mhm.
So when all this transpired with Kirsten, I was still in that. Okay, you did that, and now this?
Mm,
Come on. But he kept pursuing me in that time, even though I was mad and angry and wasn't praying, wasn't going to church, nothing. He kept pursuing me and saying things like, "This is not to you, but it's for you." And seeing the miracles that he was doing, it brought me closer to the point where I'm like, "She's yours. She's not, yes, she is mine, but she's really yours. She's your gift. And I need to let you do the work in me and in her of what you have had planned the whole time. I can't control any of it. I have to
yeah,
let that go." And that was the game changer that I started to be okay with everything. I couldn't control what she did, and that's really difficult for Enneagram 8
mm, mm,
because our core desire is to protect our family and friends and to control the things that are in our lives. And I couldn't do that. And I began to pray more and I began to have more conversations with God about, okay, this is our situation. How do we get through it? And it was through those conversations, through prayer and journaling, that I began to let the pieces fall off, let the mask fall off, and just be okay with this is what we do. This is our family. And this is who we are. This is who Kirsten is. And it just became okay after a while.
I think that sometimes people believe that they can't be angry with God. They can't be honest with God. It's like we go to him in our deepest desires, "Oh, help with this," or these desperate cries, or
Right.
I think most of the prayer is that we finally go to him out of desperation versus spending other times where it's just simple thankfulness and worship
Right.
and praise.
Mm.
But I know personally, having a season where I was very angry with God, same thing. Like
Mhm.
I couldn't even sit in church. It was just like everything, I physically felt like a caged lion when I would sit in church. It was like, get me out of here. I don't want
Right.
anything to do with this. I'm so
Mhm.
upset with you. And, it was in that moment though that and it was a minute. It was not like, "Oh, this was just one church service." We were talking a couple of years where I was like,
Yeah.
"I don't want
Same here.
anything to do with Bible study." Worship songs would come on, and I was like, "I am not. I am so mad
Yeah.
at you."
Yeah.
And I think he also appreciates that. He knows that about us. He knows that
Exactly.
it's not gonna
Yes.
be easy, and I love that he's still just sitting on the sidelines going, "Okay, when you're done with your temper tantrum,
Uh-huh.
then let's get back to this relationship. And so I guess I want moms to hear that as well that are listening. It's okay to have a temper tantrum. Like, just
It's
like you would
totally
never walk away from your child who's having a temper tantrum, you may distance yourself, right? Like, I'm gonna walk away from you in Target if you're pitching a fit, but I'm just on the next aisle. Like, I still have an eye on you, but I'm not
yeah.
feeding into this
Right.
fit that you're having.
I always thought about after the fact, I thought about it. It's like when you have toddlers and your toddler is pitching a fit and all they need is a snack and maybe a nap.
Yeah.
And I really think God's like, have a nap. Here's some cheese. Cheese. Go lay down. You'll feel better when you get up. And I think that was like my journey.
Yeah.
Was like, here's some things that's gonna make you feel a little better. I'm gonna have a little conversation with you, and you're gonna come back into it, and
Mhm.
it's totally okay to wrestle. I mean, Jacob did.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's totally okay to have those conversations and say the things that you really feel. And I mean, I'm no theologian by any stretch of the imagination, but I really think that's what God really wants from us is to have those conversations, and so that He can show us,
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing for you. This is where you're headed next. So,
I just heard actually last night we were breaking down the Psalms in a Bible study. And one of the things that she said that I had not really ever paid attention to was that like half of the Psalms are a lament. They're pitching a fit basically and crying out and saying, "Why?" And every single one of them, with the exception of one psalm of lament, turns itself around into praise and worship. And so it's
mhm,
just an example that we can do that. We can go to the hard places and pitch our fit,
mhm,
and then God's still gonna be there, and we can turn it around into praise and worship. For
right.
the mom who's listening, who's saying, I'm in this struggle as well. I have a child that is special needs. I feel lost. I feel like I don't know how to get through this. I don't know how to make it better for her. What are some of the tools that you used to encourage you and to strengthen you in this walk with your daughter?
Um, Therapy, highly recommend it. I know when you're in the thick of dealing with a special needs child, you feel like, "Oh, I can't do things for me. I
Mhm.
have to always be doing it for them." No. Get Make sure that you're talking to someone where you can express those feelings, and if you can't for whatever reason, then journal. Get those thoughts out of your head and onto a piece of paper. I guarantee you're gonna feel better. Self-care was really important even back then. I felt guilty the entire time I did it, but when I left, and whether it was getting my hair cut or my nails done, or even if it was just me driving to Starbucks by myself
Mhm.
and getting a latte and sitting in my car and drinking said latte hot and
Shocker.
then walking back into the house 15, 20 minutes later did m- a world of good for all of us. I was in a better frame of mind to deal with the things that we needed to deal with. And I got a break. My husband got to have some one-on-one time with Kirsten and do some of the things and all those types of things. Prayer, yell at God. He could handle it.
Mhm.
He could totally handle it. These were all the things that I did. Some of the other things that was find other moms who were in the same similar situation. Their son or daughter had a brain injury or was dealing with some sort of like developmental delay or something like that, because we had a lot of the same issues that we were dealing with, and we could help each other with, yeah, I know, and this is how I did this to help my son or daughter when they were experiencing that. And that goes a long way because you're not alone. You may feel like you're alone. You may feel like you're the only person that has this particular issue with your son or daughter, but I guarantee you're not.
I'm gonna take you back to young Kirsten, and you're a young mom,
Mhm.
and you're now faced with a daughter who has the delays or whatever needs that she had at that time, and you're comparing yourself to other moms, did you ever feel was it ever difficult to admit and what was happening? Or was it always easy for you to admit, or did you find yourself comparing yourself to other moms?
Every chance, every time I saw other moms doing things with their kids, there was all that comparison, even with other special needs moms.
Mm.
So it wasn't the normal mom guilt that where we all compare ourselves to other moms. Oh, they're doing it so much better than I am. Look, they're the perfect mom and they can do this, that, and the other thing. Then for me, it became like, oh, she's such a great special needs mom. She knows exactly where to go for resources. And she does all the therapy and all the things, and she looks great, and she's all together. She's got it all together. And I kept comparing myself to those women on both
Mhm.
sides. And finally, I had a nervous breakdown one day, basically. And a good friend of mine said, you're doing the best job that you can do for Kirsten, and that's all that matters. God put you with this child for a reason, and you just do the best that you can do for her, and everything else will play out the way it's supposed to.
Mm.
And it was in that moment I went, oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, I needed someone else to say, it's okay. You're doing the best job that you can do for Kirsten. Don't second guess anything.
Mhm.
So if that's where you are, if you're listening and that's where you are, you're doing the best job that you can do for your son or daughter. And there's a reason why God gave you this particular child. And that's it.
I think that whether you're dealing with a child with special needs or not, I think that right there, Tammy, is an encouragement for every mom. We all need to hear that. And so I do thank you for those words. It hits my heart because we do want to do it all right. We want to be the perfect mom
Mm-hmm.
but that comparison can absolutely destroy us. It can tear
Mm-hmm.
us apart. And I do think that it also can create a division between you and your child
Right.
in that they're not living up to the people you're comparing them and yourself to.
Because you don't know what really their issues are.
Right. I do think that community, like you said, also is such a huge part of being a mom and an honest, vulnerable community, not a community where everybody shows up in their
With their
perfection.
Instagram best.
Yes. Yes. Like
Yeah.
a true, authentic community where you can
Yeah.
show up and you can go, I am a hot mess.
Mm-hmm.
And can you help me in my hot mess season? And it's so important. It's so important. I closed the show out, and I hate to even close the show because I know that you have such wisdom in this situation. You've given us a little glimpse
Mm-hmm.
that Kirsten is doing well, and what you thought God has done even more abundantly than probably what you dreamed when she was a little girl.
Mm-hmm. So much more. Never would have imagined this. Mm-mm.
Mm.
Just the stuff she's been able to do, the life that she has, I didn't envision it at all the way that it is. We can go on vacations and she could be left here completely on her own. That's not what I envisioned for her. I envisioned 24-hour round the clock care,
Mm.
that we would never be able to leave her alone. We can. Is there people that check in on her? Yes, absolutely. Just to make
Mhm.
sure that she has everything that she needs with some of her anxiety and things like that, that she's taking medications, things of those natures, but she can be left to her own devices. There's some
Yeah.
days I don't even see her at all because she's doing her own thing. So
Yeah. So what
it's,
one doctor said was a hopeless situation.
mhm.
God said, "No, let
Yeah,
me show you." Yeah.
yeah.
And what a testimony that has built for you as a mom to encourage other
Hmm.
mothers in this space. And like you said, I'm sure Kirsten has an incredible testimony as
She,
well. Yeah.
yes. It's she doesn't really think about it very often because it's just who she is. But when you go back and occasionally we go back with her and look and, hey, do you remember when you had this? Or remember when you used to have to take all these medications or shots or whatever the case, whatever we were dealing with. And she's, yeah, now I don't even have to take anything. And
Yeah.
it's just really life-giving to see her see it for herself as opposed to this is just my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
Mhm.
I hope that a mama that's listening right now who maybe feels like she's in a hopeless situation is encouraged to understand that there is no hopeless situation with God. He can turn any situation into a
Anything.
hopeful one.
And it may not be what you want, but it's usually much better than
Mhm.
what we plan for or what we hope. Anyway,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. And that goes back to that surrender and that acceptance. That back to that line that you said, I need to let her be who God created her to be
Yeah.
because he created her perfect,
Mm.
just the
He
way
did.
he intended. And
And she is.
even if it's she is. And if it's not the way we thought it would look like you
Right.
said, it's better. And when we can surrender that and we can accept that, then it's
Mhm.
it's so life-giving to all of us.
So good. So good.
I end this podcast every time with asking, what are you praying for right now that we could join you in prayer? And do you have a verse that you could share with the listeners?
Sure. Basically, what I'm praying for her right now is that just God continues to lead her where she is supposed to go, and that He also gives her father and I the wisdom and the guidance to lead her in the right path to guide her down.
Mhm.
And then as far as a verse goes, I guess it's Isaiah 41:10, which says, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." That has been the thing for us over all these years, that in the worst moments, when I couldn't remember any scripture, I couldn't remember anything else, it was faith over fear. It's in the Bible 366 times for a reason. And that verse has been my life verse most days.
Yeah.
So just have that faith, Tammy. And whether it's for my daughter or anything else, it's knowing that God's going to do amazing and wonderful things if I just have faith and not give in to the fear.
So good. This has been so wonderful. I appreciate your encouragement, your willingness to share a hard story, but a hopeful story. And thanks so much, Tammy, for your time.
You are very welcome, friend. Very welcome. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Of course. Thanks so much for listening to The Mom Show with Courtney Doyle. Remember to check the show notes for any links, books, or resources that are mentioned in each episode. We want to be sure this blesses other mothers. And in order to do this, if you're listening via podcast, be sure that you like and share. If you could write a review, that would be fantastic. It helps us get in front of other moms. If you're watching via YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button. This way, you won't ever miss an episode. We want to make sure that we increase our reach to other mothers who need a little encouragement, a community, and a whole lot of Jesus. We're so glad you're here.